Hi, good evening. Thank you, Sanjukta and Shweta, for joining in for this live conversation for our members at Joy Hamesha. Um, so, before we start off with our conversation, just a brief introduction about who we are and what Joy Hamesha is. So, Joy Hamesha is a Facebook community that is founded by Anamika Chakravarti, and it was during a phase when she was herself healing through cancer. Um, and while while she was recovering from this, she reached out and she found very alternative healing methodologies. One of them was her introduction to Louis Hay and a lot of other alternative healing methods which talk more about the emotional, mental, physical and spiritual connect that we have, all of these four elements, how they are interconnected and how that can help us heal ourselves. And the crux of the entire philosophy is that joy is something that we can create, and the joy that we create ourselves is what is going to stay constant. So that's the objective with which we started. She started off this community. Sanjukta and I then started volunteering with her after we have attended her Love Yourself More retreat. So the idea is about how we can learn to love ourselves. And last month, when we were having our monthly webinar, when Sanjukta shared your story with us about how you have yourself converted or turned adversities into triumph, is when we thought that when if you come on stage and share your story, share or tell us about your journey, it would be such a positive impact on the entire community. So thank you very much, Shweta, for agreeing to do this conversation with us. For
My
everyone who
pleasure.
is, thank you. So for everyone who is currently watching this, a little bit of an introduction about Shweta. So Shweta Katti is a 27-year-old activist and a TEDx speaker, currently based in Himachal Pradesh. She is a part of Kranti, which is an NGO that works with finding opportunities for girls hailing from Kamathipura, which is Mumbai's red light district. She has defied all odds to be the first girl from an Indian red light district to secure an international scholarship and study abroad. Recognized as one of the 25 women under 25 to watch out for by Newsweek magazine, she has become a beacon of hope for many girls, challenging the social stigma. Currently, Shweta is working for Kranti, taking forward and is focused on a mission of self-love and acceptance and passing on this process to numerous girls being rehabilitated by Kranti. So, thank you very much, Sanjukta, for introducing us to this phenomenal person. And over
Yeah,
to you.
she has been an inspiration to me as well. I met Shweta in 2014 when I did a story as a journalist. I met her a few times, I think a couple of times. So Shweta, let me just start the conversation. Yeah, so I'll every time I meet you, I've met you like a few times over 10 years now. Every time I meet you, you are more assured. You have more things going on in your life. And so let's start a little bit about where it all began. So tell us how and when Kranti came to your life and changed your life. So a little bit of a background, how you came to that point of coming to Kranti.
Okay. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's my pleasure to be here. And so I grew up in Kamathipura, actually Pilla House, which is right next to Kamathipura, in a brothel, uh, on a loft in a brothel, with my mother and three other sisters and my stepfather. And so, I mean, that was my regular and normal life. So when I was in 12th grade, I kind of freaked out about my education. Until 10th, I studied in Marathi medium. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Carry on.
until 10th I studied in Marathi medium. 11th and 12th was suddenly in English. I was bullied as a kid for having dark skin, and of course there was a lot of, I think, coming from where I come from, there was a lot of there was a lot of shame and stigma attached that, of course, I wasn't very aware of. But of course, the societal conditioning, thoughts, and the mindset keeps playing everywhere around you, so it conditions and shapes your self-image. And I think that's so. I was a very timid, introvert, shy, a bit sad and depressed kid. I was not very active. And yet, I think there was some sort of intelligence that kind of carried me. I never put too much effort into studying, but I got by. I was really good at math and English, so I was getting by. So I never had to put a lot of effort. And in 12th, I suddenly freaked out. What am I going to do with my life? Because my stepfather would every evening, like the since I remember from my very early childhood, he would come in the evening very drunk. He was very abusive. He was an alcoholic. He was a womanizer. He was come in the late evenings and beat like have he would fight with my mother, beat me and my sisters and my mother up. It was, of course, the community who always supported my mother and my family to be safe. This they fought with him to keep us safe. And so, but I don't know, there was something, I don't know, I believe it was universal push, because I was suddenly like, well, I need to do something, I need something. And I didn't know what, I didn't know like where I was going to go. But there was another organization called Apne Aap Women's Collective, which put me in touch with Kranti NGO, which was a shelter home. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm studying commerce, so I must become a chartered accountant. I had no idea what chartered accountancy meant at that time. But just because, oh, I knew, I'd heard, I don't know, maybe I'd heard heard it multiple times in class, thrown here and there. And I thought, oh, maybe a lot of money and find, save myself from my situation, sort of thing. And I thought, okay, I'll study and I'll get out. And of course that did not happen. And then I remember the first time so of course then I was put in touch with Kranti, and they'd come to pick me up from home. It was difficult because I still remember, and my people at Kranti still tease me that I cried for months because I was away from my mother. We were in the same city. She lived in Grantur, I lived in Kandivali, and not that I wasn't seeing her enough, but I was away, and that would break my heart, and it was difficult for me. But I think that was a necessary move, and that's how I ended up at Kranti.
Okay. So, at what point, Shweta, did the mental shift come to you when you could actually believe, when you felt that palpable belief in your head that yes, I can rise above my circumstances? Was there a turning point that you remember? You talk
I
about?
don't think it was one moment. I think it has happened over time in many ways. Like, it's crazy. Like every I think even every day is a new day, because you learn something new I learned something new about myself and how I want to. Because anyway, so when I came to Kranti, I was not aware as a person. I was not aware of my difficulties, my mental trauma, whatever it was. Like, it was just, I was somewhere lost, introvert. But I was very good. Since very early age, I wanted to read. तो घर पे तो books नहीं थे, and NGOs में भी जो भी the books would be locked in a cupboard but never accessible. So when I came, and my mother would go to the market and bring, market में जाके you get the vegetables in a wrap, right? तो फिर वो घर पे जब आता था, I hated doing chores, but करना पड़ता था. But then तो मैं वो खोलती थी, and then I would start reading from that newspaper, and that's what kind of happened. Then anyway, so to come back, when I came to Kranti, I started reading a lot because there was one room dedicated to books, and I was so happy because the first time I could hold a book and read it at pleasure, like with pleasure. And that's when the journey began of self discovery. But at that time it was still an escape from reality. I didn't want to see what's going on because I was not able to make easy friends with others, because other girls at Kranti had boyfriends. I mean, Kranti had a very open atmosphere. It didn't believe in gatekeeping ki aise hi rehna hai, waise hi rehna hai, so it gave, of course, it oversaw everything that was going on in everyone's lives, but made sure that we don't feel restricted, because I think the founders of Kranti knew the restrictions would be what would make things difficult. But anyway, I would keep away from that and I would be in my own little world. And in 2013, when I became the first girl from the red light area, ye wo ho gaya, and then I got to Bard, and the journey began. And I think that was difficult, very difficult. I was very happy, very joyful, and I think those have been the very beautiful times of my life, because Bard is an amazing university, rigorous and academic, which is what I still really deeply long for. But I was not prepared at that time, and suddenly anxiety, overwhelm started coming up. I stayed there for 3 semesters, but after 3 semesters, just a moment, sorry. After 3 semesters, I was like, nahi, because third semester was overwhelming, and then I said ki nahi hoga. And when I came back home from then, and Robin, I remember Robin would jabardasti, forcefully, she would
Let
make
me
us.
let me just interrupt once again. So Robin Chaurasia is the founder of Kranti. She
Oh,
is
sorry.
the
Yes, Robin
person
is the
behind
founder of Kranti.
Kranti.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
she's the crazy woman behind all of it. I
yeah.
wish I had more time to share more
No,
about her
no,
craziness.
continue. That could be for another time. So we want to hear your
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
So because Robin, social work had helped her, um, she came to confront her own difficulties, which pushed her in direction of healing, meditation, and therapy. And we'd receive therapy from day one. That was not a question. The moment you enter Kranti, once a week, you would receive. Everyone would receive therapy. But then she would forcefully make us meditate, which I would rebel. I would rather read a book than meditate. But then when the suffering time came, and I think I'd gathered some understanding of pain and suffering, and I want to be okay by any means. And there was a lot of anxiety going on. So then I started meditating, and that journey has unfolded in a very beautiful way over the years, through because then I went through a lot of overwhelm came. I confronted a lot of my self-image issues, shame, stigma, guilt. All of that was hidden underneath. But I can say now I feel very at ease. Touch wood, but because I've gone through those upheavals, ups and downs constantly in my life. There was a point in my life where as a kid I had TB, but then later in 2017 I found out that I have MDR TB, which was life threatening, and I had to take multi-drug resistant. It was multi-drug resistant TB, and I had to take experimental drugs, which was heavy on my system, and it broke me apart because of the TB. It was in my lower back. I couldn't walk. I couldn't so my entire, because when I dropped out of Bard, I came to Kranti. All my energy went into being useful in some way to Kranti. I think to override my guilt about dropping out, and that I'd given everything. So I was doing multiple things, but I was at the same time I was working with Robin, and she'd be like, "You're not sitting at home doing nothing. You're gonna come with me and work." And so every day she would take me and I would help her. But in that process, I think then when I was bedridden, I think then I had no choice. I couldn't run away from the issues that I had to look at, and I think that kind of opened a gateway, and Buddhism was there to hold me, and which has been an incredible support throughout. And so I studied Buddhism after that for 4 years, and
Where did
I
you study
recently
that?
finished. I did it in Italy. That's funny because a lot of people would ask, Buddhism is from
Buddhism and
India. Why
Italy.
would you go to
Yeah.
Italy? I mean, I got a full scholarship. I don't want to lie. I got a full scholarship, and why wouldn't I not want to go to Italy?
Yeah.
So I went, which was good because I was away from everyone, and I was there for entire COVID. I did not come back for 2.5 years. And I did, at the end of the program, I did a 3 month silent retreat, which again, it was really good when I did it. But then after that very beautiful time, when the retreat had finished, a lot of stuff started coming up. And then that, navigating all of that, but I had the psychology and the philosophy of support and understanding to hold. I mean, of course, I've gone through lots of ups and downs, and I still go through. But I have that net of support that I can always fall back on, and that slowly, and especially in the last year, I would say, like, has helped. It strengthened me in ways that I cannot even explain. And I know there's still a long way to go, and I'm really happy because there's a certain ease beyond labels, beyond my identity, beyond even my own shortcomings. TK, I'm a human being. I have shortcomings. That's okay. So that's that.
Yeah. So, Shweta, now do you feel a sense of belonging to? So, see, all of us struggle with belonging in some way. You know, we are misfits somewhere. Nobody is like, perfectly
I agree.
matched. So, for you, it must have been even that sense of unbelonging must have been even harder, right? So, do you now finally feel that you belong in, educated, professional, whatever, mainstream society? Do you feel a sense of belonging yet?
You know what happened? I think that over so many years, I wanted to belong somewhere, and life was like, no, no. Every time I would try hard. Every time I was like, no, no. And then I was like, I better give up because this is not working out. And I think I've found belonging within me, because every time in friendships, in relationships, in everywhere I've tried to find it, I have failed miserably and really hit rock bottom at times. And then it would always, like, so it's always having that, again, that having that support with this philosophy, psychology, spiritual meditation especially, and just the understanding of how things are, so, and not being attached to a certain, so that kind of has helped me. I don't want to belong anywhere, because when you say I belong at home, then I'm restricting it to home. If I say I belong with my friends, I'm restricting it to friends. If I say I belong here, so for me, I've learned to belong to myself. And because there are like conflicts in relationships, and suddenly you're like, oh my god. And I've had the tendency to please others, so I get into that immediately, and then I'm like, no, not now, not again. And I don't want to do this, because I know it's not healthy for me, it's not truthful to others, it's not respectful to the relationship. And slowly, again, it's not cut to cut. It has its own flow, and I think I'm still navigating that and becoming honest and becoming free of those barriers.
Yeah. So, about like with your family, your relationship with your mother, father, sisters. So often, what happens is you do the work, and the people around you have not done the work. So, how is the dynamic now? Say with your mother, who's also gone through so much of abuse in her life, right? She herself must be very traumatized. So, how is that? How is
She's
it?
beyond. She's beyond. I mean, I would like to. I always try to. I pretend to know better than her, and I'm always trying to. Mommy, you should do. But she's beyond me. I mean, she knows love, and she knows. I mean, I still have a long way to go, and she serves in love to others. And the beauty when I see her is, I think, I don't have that. And she's seen much beyond.
I think you have it.
But
You're not
like
aware of
it's
it.
different with mothers. It's just different. Like
True.
I don't want to again label. I don't want to generalize it. And but with my mother, and I'm sure with the strength they have to do whatever it takes to take care of their children. And again, I don't want to, because it can be. I don't want it to become an expectation around motherhood, but
Yeah.
what I've experienced in my with my mother, and I think, and it's not limited to me only. She works at Kranti, and I know it's extended to others. I mean, she doesn't care anymore about me, but she loves her cats. And the other day I called her, she didn't pick up. And the next day I called her, I was like, "Why didn't you pick up? You didn't call me back. You didn't pick up, but you didn't call me back." And then I was like, "Elephant Tara are two cats at Kranti," and I was like, "If they'd called, you'll pick up." No, she's like, "But you are not Elephant Tara." Like, so she's found her own way of life and joy, and I mean struggles we all have. तो फिर
Yeah.
मेरे को I think because I also, with all of this, there's a lot of humility within me to not think that I know better, because I don't. And a lot of other people, there are diversity of experiences, diversity of wisdom, diversity of strength in human beings. So I respect that and I cherish it, because I always get to learn something. And my sisters are amazing, and Kranti girls are amazing at that. So I think somebody was just talking to me about women and women's issues, and I'm like, I live in a very beautiful bubble where I'm surrounded by very strong women, that I do not have to confront men. I just live in a not a judgment to men, but the kind of things you may in our society you may come across. So I think I am very lucky with respect to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So, can you give us briefly an idea of, how mental issues are addressed at Kranti? Like, what are some of is there a particular method, or, what has been most helpful to you? What kind of practice, what kind of method of therapy? Is there anything specific that you can share?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think when I started, we had a therapist from urban organization regularly, and I'd loved her because she would listen so gently, respectfully, and like that she cared, and I knew that she cared, and her presence was a lot. And before that, I didn't have anyone who would listen to me, and I didn't even know that someone could share and something to someone else. Like, we would not talk about things that in the family. And but slowly over the years, of course, meditation has become a way of life, and Buddhist philosophies helped, and not just Buddhist, Hindu, Sufi, um, Sikhism, in every aspect of spirituality that I can I can benefit from, I take. But huge gratitude to my therapist. Her name is Sadia Saeed, and she works with she does somatic therapy, which works with the body and emotions trapped in the body. So we of course work with trauma, and then we experience it in our body, and then we hold with love and care. And I think that particular way of, and there's a lot of which, so Sade also does 8 weeks of mindfulness course, and she has levels, and I've done it constantly, because even with the Tibetan Buddhism that I was studying, it was very intellectual, and I was not getting the support that I needed in the body in actual real time. And it was her who would provide, whose insights, whose guided meditations would help me a lot. And of course, I think this, and the much more than that, the safety net that Kranti has provided me with.
Yeah.
The safe home that I know I can always come back. I know there are people who care for me, that that I'm married to someone, and so that those strong, that I did not value much earlier,
Yeah.
but I do very much now.
Yeah.
So my family also, I have incredible sisters, and also Kranti family. I have incredible Kranti sisters, and Robin and Baniti, who've been incredible support. And again, through that network, we've done so much. Like, we've traveled across India, across the world. Kranti's done multiple tours. Again, it's not that we're very wealthy, but Robin has had the faith that things will work out. And so there was one time she sent me off to the US with $10 in my pocket. And she knew it would be figured out, and it did. and I didn't have to worry. So she's taken those journeys with us, and they lived with us. So it's not like they had a separate life. Their life was our life. Like, so we were their lives, and I think whatever they did were they did with love. So I think that intention and that loving kindness and that generosity is what has helped me grow much more than probably
Yeah.
anything else.
So, lastly, Shweta, how do you see your future now? Like, do you have anything? Are you working on anything specific? How do you see your future? Sort of. I know nobody can predict the future, but yeah. How
Yeah,
do you
no,
see
I think I
yourself
can
going
predict it
forward?
very well.
Oh, tell us.
It's kind of I mean, I always wanted to give back to Kranti, and I so I am working at Kranti right now. So me and one other girl have joined Kranti team, and we've moved to Himachal. We've got a bigger place. We're ready to take in new girls, 10 to 12 new girls next year. So we will be running Kranti school and managing their educational activities, their well-being. So, and that's what I wanted to do, and I will be doing that for the next however many years.
Okay. All right. Dolly, do you want to ask Shweta anything, or um, do we have anything on anything on Facebook yet? Any comments or anything that we want to quickly address? Or
Sure. So what there is so much that you said was so powerful, I think. And the one bit, that really is going to stay with me is that I have learned not to belong. You said you have learned not to belong anywhere, but belong to yourself first. That was like the most powerful statement that you made. And I guess, so much of it is in line with the whole, the whole journey of how we become better and grow inside out.
yeah,
And how articulate you were and how beautifully you expressed the entire navigation that you've had to go through. So thank you very
yeah,
much, Shweta, once again. I'm going to keep coming back to this and listening to everything that you have shared
yeah,
on days when I
yeah.
feel low. I
Thank
just
you
have
so much,
one.
Shweta. Yeah, sure, sure. Dolly, ask the
Sorry.
question.
Yeah. So not a question as such, but you know, so any briefly, any advice or anything, any message that you would want to give everyone who tends to feel low or anxious from time to time with how life, the curveballs that you come across in life.
I think they're important experiences of life, and rather than seeing them in isolation, oh, this is a bad experience, and labeling them as bad experiences, I think what I've learned, I think which is what has actually helped me more than anything, um, is holding those lows. And I think that's given me much more freedom than anything, because you don't want to look at your lows. You want to run away from them. But the moment you start, you give those lows space in your life, they come and go. And that's just how life is. I mean, in nature, you'll see there's creation, there's destruction. So even in like experiences happen, they come down. So when we look at like when we try to grab into towards to one experience of life, like happiness, or even any sort of any relationship, anything, like we want to hold it tight, it will go away, and then there will be deep sadness. And to avoid that deep sadness, we're running around all the time. And I think I was exhausted by that journey, and I was like, nope, I am done. I do not want to do this. And the moment, like, and there are times when I don't know, there's beauty in it. There's a beauty in holding your sad self. Like, who else would hold them? Who else if not you? I mean, they're your experiences, and they're part of life. Nobody's exempt from that. Nobody. So the moment we don't look at them as bad things, and more like, okay, they're experiences, there's something going on, in sense of क्या बोलते हैं, curiosity and query कि क्या हो रहा है, ठीक है, ये चल रहा है, what do I need right now, how do I hold this, because we get try to get into the story of ये हुआ, वो हुआ, उसने ये बोला, उसने ये किया, मेरा ये हो गया, ये वो हो गया, मैंने ऐसे क्यों बोला. That goes on, and yet you, with practice and with time, of course this has happened, and it's consistent. You have to be committed. Bottom line, if you're not committed to your well-being, it's not coming. You can pretend
Absolutely.
all you
Yeah.
want, but if you are not committed to it, it's not coming. So if you are, then you have to love yourself no matter what. You may have said the most horrible things. You can forgive yourself. Sure, it must have been hurtful, and that's, I'm sure the person, you can forgive that, you can ask forgiveness from them, and you can forgive yourself. You're a human being. We are allowed, we are not perfect, like we would like to picture ourselves these perfect beings, and I think that's what actually helped me. I'm not. I'm not. And I think that's the greatest freedom I've had. ठीक है, नहीं है, कभी कभी हो जाता है. I also have so then there's compassion for others around us too. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, yeah, what I would say. Be kind, compassionate to yourself and others, and life would be a little more easy, joyful, and there would be bouts of joy out of nowhere. Like I do get those things. Sometimes I'm just happy. And I know it will pass and there will be sadness. So theek hai. Like that.
All right. Thank you
And
so
it's
much,
not easy
Shweta.
also to
Yeah.
acknowledge, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It is not.
Yes.
But it is just not, and there will be times I don't want to do anything with this. What is this again and again? But again, you come back to it. If once you're committed, there's no going back. So it's okay. Just be gentle, and it will. I know and yeah, it'll be okay.
Yeah, it will be okay, definitely for you, Shweta. This is really, really lovely. We will save this recording, we'll come back to it and hope to sort of talk more with you and share more with you. And all the best with Kranti, and to
Thank
the
you.
entire Kranti family, lots of love and best wishes. Thank you very much for your time, Shweta. It was lovely.
Thank you. It was an amazing. I think it was a really good conversation for me as well. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
Thank
so
evening.
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.